Hey guys, today I'm going to rank all of the armor pieces in Fantastic Frontier. If you want me to rank all of the armor sets or weapons, I can do that as a separate video. Okay, so I'm going to rank each piece based on the stats like damage, buffs, and defense, and I will also be ranking them based on how many kinds of classes and playstyles they are good for. Anyway, from worst to best, let's get started. Number 48, enormous huge bills. These things are honestly just a flex since the only stat they have is 40 defense. While that is the most defense any singular armor piece has, it's still bad due to the lack of other stats. Oh, and did I mention that they cost 100 million gold? Number 47, Royal Ore Helmets. I'm putting all 6 Royal Ore Helmets in the same rank since the only difference is color and slight stat variation. Depending on the ore, there's really nothing special about these helmets other than some extra gold for selling them. Number 46, Nightmare Boots. While the walk speed is good and the defense is decent, the fact that you lose 20 jump boost is just too much. I see how these can be used in almost all situations. It's more of a disadvantage than an advantage to wear the Nightmare Boots. Number 45, Mining Helmet. It is pretty much nothing other than producing light, which you will only ever need in the ballroom if you're trying to get Rat Boy tokens. Well, actually, rat tokens. Number 44, Fashion Hat. This thing only gives plus 2 walk speed and costs 1.2 million gold. Although, to be honest, it only really exists to be worn in vanity. Number 43, Red Yesterday Hat. This hat only gives you 8% endurance and no other stats. While being better than the mining helmet and the fashion hat, it's still almost a complete waste of your helmet slot. Number 42, Propaganda Head. This is just the Red Yesterday hat, but with an extra 9% endurance. Although it can be helpful for certain things because of its high endurance, the enormous cost and the lack of other stats make it pretty much never worth your time. Number 41, Green Black Jacket. This torso piece only gives 22 defense. This may sound good early game, but it can only be obtained from the Guttermouth cells and the Red Wolf. By then, I guarantee you will have something better. Number 40, Punk. The Punk gives good magic damage and decent melee damage, but the fact that it takes away 8 defense means you should probably only get this if you're really careful. Number 39, Ghost Mask. This is something you will only use for vanity or really early game, since it just gives 5 defense. And number 38, Dark Ghost Mask. This is just the Ghost Mask with an extra 5 defense. Unlike the Ghost Mask, it can be good if you get it very early game. I say that because if you're going to use the Ghost Mask, you might as well just buy an ore helmet. Number 37, Yaxel Flame. While giving very good melee damage, the magic damage is bad and the negative 10 defense is unbearable. The problem is, you take the most hits as a melee player, and this helmet specifically buffs melee damage, while also making you take more damage. The only reason you would want to use this is if you're really good at dodging, aka a tryhard. Number 36, Phantom Boots. These boots give 5 defense and 5 walk speed. The price is decent, but the problem is that you can only buy the jump boot. If you just bought the jump boots, they're much more useful and will continue being useful for longer. Number 35, Monster Mask. This mask gives an extra 20 melee damage for 100,000 gold. The real problem is the lack of defense and the fact that you could be investing in much better things early game. Number 34, Sentry Cube. There's no reason you would buy this thing since it is only a little bit better than the much cheaper Clever Cube, and if you saved up just a bit more, you'd be able to buy the Crunkston 4. Huh, that rhymes. Number 33, Gold and Fear. These two are in the same rank since the only difference is what damage types they boost. They both cost 50 million gold and give really good damage boosts. The problem is how expensive they are and that they take away 16 defense. I personally think gold is a bit better since it buffs ranged the most, which doesn't take as many hits as a melee player, which fear buffs the most. Number 32, Brickland. This helmet has a ton of regen, but it has no defense and is pretty costly. I personally recommend just going for the Romo set if you want to have lots of regen, since it also has a lot of defense. Number 31, Nightmare Visage. This is only here because by the time you get it, you'll probably have something better. That is after getting both marbles and 500 rat coins. Number 30, Far North Mask. The magic damage can be good if you get this from the Blue Man's Chieftain early game, but the lack of defense and the cost make it so you'll probably just buy this for the item PD later in the game. Number 29, Otherworld Boots. The defense and walk speed are decent, and it can be helpful with the Forgotten Life set since it adds an extra 3.5 endurance. Personally, I like to use this with the Forgotten Life for Driftlander since you can go for much longer without running out of stamina, which is good for looking around for like a rabbit hole. Number 28, Plasma Ghost Mask. Did I say that right? I feel like I didn't. The stats are only decent, but the selling price is quite high for something you can get from any Plasma Ghost. It's really, it's cool in Vanity too. Number 27, Corrupted Wizard's Helmet. All I can say is it has decent magic damage and defense for early game, but then it is only really helpful for mages, and it's hard to get magic early game. Number 26, Von Jerry's Hat of Illusion. This costs way too much, but it can be very good if gotten from a present tower or the Firefly quest. The magic damage is good and it has some defense. Number 25, Criminal's Tall Hat. Really just has good ranged and melee damage while being slightly overpriced. Number 24, Hive Crown. This is only really here because it gives decent regen for early game. I do not recommend buying this since it costs more than it's worth, but if you are early game and you get the Hive Crown from a troll, then it can be quite useful. Number 30 is 23, Plain Fish Mask. This would be higher on the list if it was easier to get. The mask gives some endurance, has decent armor, and gives plus 70 of all damage types. The real problem is that it can only be gained from killing Parasite, and even then, it only has a 2% chance of being dropped. Number 22, Otherworld Slug. While this does give a huge amount of magic damage, it is very hard to obtain, and it takes away walk speed. The reason this is here on the list is because this is the only way any magic weapon can really rival things like the Gnome Rocket Launcher. Number 21, Bandoiler. The Bandoiler can be very helpful if dropped by the Blackrock Giant very early game, especially if you killed the giant with a crossbow or low tier rifle since it buffs range damage. Number 20, Neon Flint's Cap. This hat can be very helpful early game if dropped by a dragon, but I wouldn't what the heck was that? I wouldn't recommend buying it unless you are specifically going for a mage/ranger playthrough. Number 29, Oculus Adcuratus, Magic Fox Headdress, and Tall Anthony. These are all in the same rank because they each give no defense and plus 100 of one damage type. I personally think Tall Anthony is the worst since it buffs melee while lacking the defense, but the others are very hard to get your hands on though. Number 18, Detour Cone. It gives good defense and good damage for melee and ranged, but it costs a lot compared to the Fillmore's helmet. Now, the Fillmore's helmet buffs magic and melee instead, so I do recommend getting the Detour Cone if you're ranged. Number 17, Cosmic Ghost Mask. While extremely hard to get, the stats are quite good for the selling price, and the stats are quite good, and the selling price is amazing. It has 16 defense and plus 70 of all damage types. Oh, and of course, this one is just really cool too. Number 16, Outlaw's Cap. This isn't very helpful at all if you're magic or melee, but if you get the Outlaw's Cap from something like an ogre early game and you're ranged, it will make things much easier for you. It doesn't give armor, but it gives plus 50 range damage. Although, I wouldn't buy it since it costs 1 million gold. Number 15, Clown Shoes. These shoes are actually quite good, but by the time you can get them, you'll probably have better ways of getting to high places. Number 14, Strange Man's Mask. While it does give plus 111 damage to all damage types, it is very hard to get and gives no defense. Although, if you just so happen to get this from the Interdimensional Traveler very early game, it can be game changing. Number 13, Nightingale Mask. Hope I said that right. Nightingale Mask. It gives good defense, good damage to all damage types, and has good endurance. The only problem is how hard it is to get. Number 12, Crescent Coralhead. The defense of 7 is not ideal. The magic damage and endurance are really helpful early game. Other than that, it's not too expensive, and it is pretty easy to get in other ways. Number 11, Mask Hat. The Mask Hat gives good range and magic damage while giving 8 defense. The defense isn't very good, and the selling price is pretty expensive, but this is here because it's pretty easy to get from Lost, and the selling price is really good. Number 10, Kitchen Cube. The price for the Kitchen Cube is pretty good, but it can lack in defense. I recommend this if you use a lot of weapons from different classes and you're still decently early game. Number 9, Puzzle Head. It has good defense, has good damage for all damage types, and has a decent price. You can also get this from the Deep Sea chest anytime in the game, which would be really helpful early game. Number 8, Clever Cube. It has normal defense and plus 60 of all damage types. The thing that makes this really good is that it only costs 2.2 million gold. Crap, I can't say that. And when compared to other items with similar stats, this will almost always be a little bit worse, but a lot cheaper. Number 7, Krungston 4. While this helmet is very pricey, the fact that it gives you plus 100 of all damage types and still has good defense is just crazy. This is the item I would recommend going for during a multi-class run. Number 6, Tag Grid Laser. Now, this one isn't high on the list because its stats are necessarily good, because they're not. It's high on the list because it sells for 2.5 million gold while being very easy to get. All you need is 3 spider stilts and access to Giant Toad's expert tasks. Number 5, all the super shoes and power boots. These are in the same rank since they all have the same price and the exact same stats. Anyway, all of them give 5 walk speed and 10 defense, which is really good for shoes. Number 4, spider stilts. These are really just an upgrade to the jump boots, but they can be difficult to get early game without the mushroom parasol to help you beat Spider Boss. Number 3, the Pommel's Helmet. This one gives good regen, good defense, and plus 55 of all damage types. The stats are already decent, and you're guaranteed to get this for the first time you beat the Otherworld Tower. The one downside is you won't get anything from selling it since you get it back from the pig, like a key. Number 2, Minion. While giving no normal stats like defense and damage buffs, it does work in your Vandy slot. The minion basically acts like you're always holding out the mushroom parasol. This paired with wings and a ranged or magic weapon lets you pretty much turn on easy mode. The problem is how expensive and hard it is to get though. Number 1, jump boots. You all knew where this was going to be. The jump boots can be obtained within about 10 minutes of playing and gives you access to many shortcuts in hard to get areas. Not to mention how insanely helpful it is when trying to dodge enemy attacks. Well, you might not use these for really long times, and since the spider stilts are better stat-wise, the jump boots can be really helpful and boost your progress early game. Anyway, that's all of the armor pieces ranked from 48 to 1. If this video can get 35 likes, I'll make a second one in a different category. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.